You're fully awake. You can see the room, hear every sound, maybe even feel your own heartbeat pounding, but you cannot move. Not your arm, not your leg, not even your mouth to scream. Some people feel a weight pressing on their chest. Others swear something is standing in the corner watching them. It feels like your body has betrayed you. But here's the real question. Why would your brain wake up before your body does? The answer lies in a muscle lock switch your brain uses every single night, and sometimes forgets to turn off in time. That switch is called REM atonia. Every night, during dream sleep, your brain quietly cuts the wires to your voluntary muscles, so you cannot physically act out what you're dreaming. It's not a flaw, it's protection. Normally, the instant you wake, that lock releases and movement returns instantly. But sometimes your mind clicks on first, fully alert, while the lock is still engaged. Two systems, two different clocks, badly out of sync. Your brain is awake, your body is still asleep, and that gap is exactly where the fear begins. So here's where it gets strange. Your brain is fully awake. Your eyes work, your hearing works, your thoughts are clear, but your muscles are sending back nothing. No feedback, no confirmation that your arms and legs even exist right now. And a fully alert brain that suddenly loses contact with its own body does not interpret that as peaceful. It interprets it as danger. Silence from the body reads like a threat, the same way silence on the other end of a phone call feels wrong when you know someone is supposed to be there. So the brain does what it's built to do when it senses danger. It floods the system with adrenaline. Your heart rate climbs. Your chest feels tight. Your breathing feels shallow and fast, even though you haven't moved a muscle. That racing heartbeat you feel during an episode isn't a separate scary event happening to you. It's a predictable chain reaction. Alert brain, unresponsive body, automatic threat response. One leads directly into the next, like dominoes falling in the dark. But fear alone doesn't explain the shadow in the corner or the weight on your chest. So where does that come from? This is where the story gets even more interesting, because the same fear response that spikes your adrenaline also does something else. It starts filling in gaps. Your brain is still partly steeped in REM sleep, which is the same stage where vivid dreaming happens. So you have an alert mind, a frightened nervous system, and leftover dream machinery, all switched on at once. The result is that your brain layers dreamlike imagery directly onto the real room you're lying in. That pressure on your chest, that's often your own breathing feeling heavier than usual, combined with a threat-primed brain, interpreting it as something pressing down on you. That shadowy figure in the corner, that's the brain's dream-generating circuits still running, painting a presence onto ordinary shapes and shadows your eyes are actually seeing in the room. It feels like a haunting. It is actually your own fear circuitry narrating the moment for you, using whatever visual material happens to be nearby: a curtain, a coat on a chair, a strip of hallway light under the door. Let's pause here for a second, because the chain so far is worth holding in one hand. The brain wakes up early, the body stays locked. The alert brain reads that lock as danger. The fear response floods in, and the leftover dream state paints hallucinations on top of it. Wake, lock, fear, hallucination. 4 steps, one connected chain, not 4 separate mysteries. That's the whole terrifying experience, built from parts that each make sense on their own. Which raises the obvious next question. If this is just brain and body waking up at slightly different times, why does it happen on some nights and not others? Why do some people go their whole lives without a single episode, while others get hit with it during a stressful month or a rough travel week? The answer comes down to how reliably your brain and body normally sync their wake-up timing, and certain conditions make that sync less reliable. Sleep deprivation is one of the biggest. When you're running on too little sleep, your brain tends to rebound into REM sleep more forcefully and unevenly once you finally do sleep, which raises the odds of catching a REM period at an awkward, unstable point, right as you're stirring toward wakefulness. Sleeping on your back is another factor connected to more frequent episodes, possibly because that position is linked with more fragmented breathing and lighter, more interruption-prone sleep in general. So if you've noticed your own episodes tend to cluster around exhausting weeks, jet lag, or nights you fell asleep flat on your back, that's not your imagination. That's a real pattern, not bad luck. Which brings up a fair question. If this system causes actual fear and hallucinations, why would the brain even build something this glitchy in the first place? Here's the reframe worth sitting with. REM atonia is not a flaw. It's the same mechanism that keeps you from literally getting up and acting out your dreams every night, from throwing a punch at an imaginary attacker, or sprinting through your bedroom mid-dream. Without it, dream sleep would be physically dangerous. The muscle lock is protective by design. The paralysis experience isn't the system failing, it's the system succeeding at its main job, just running a few extra seconds or minutes past the moment your mind decided to wake up. Picture a security gate that's supposed to lift the instant your keycard scans. Most nights it lifts on cue, and you never even notice it was there. Once in a while, the gate lags for a few seconds after the scan registers. Frustrating in the moment, but it's the same gate doing the same protective job, just running slightly behind schedule. And here's the detail that matters most if you're the one lying there afraid you'll be stuck like this forever. You won't be. Every documented case follows the same pattern. The mismatch is temporary. Somewhere in the background, the same signals that woke your mind eventually catch up to the muscles, and the instant they do, the lock releases, and movement floods back in, usually within seconds, sometimes stretching to a couple of minutes. It always resolves on its own, which means the real question left standing isn't whether it will end, it's what actually flips that final switch back on, and whether there's anything you can do to help it flip faster. Here's the part that should actually calm you down. The same system that locked your muscles in the first place is the exact system that unlocks them again. Nothing external needs to rescue you. There's no separate fix required. Your brain simply needs its wake signal and its unlock signal to catch up with each other, like two runners who started the race at slightly different times but are always heading toward the same finish line. Once they meet, the lock releases, and movement rushes back in, usually within seconds, sometimes stretching to a minute or two. It always resolves. That part isn't in question. What's actually useful to know is whether you can help those two signals meet a little faster. And this is where one small trick makes more sense once you understand the mechanism behind it. Instead of straining to sit up or move your whole body at once, try focusing everything on one small point, a single finger, a toe, even just trying to blink harder than usual. Here's why that works better than fighting the whole system at once. Your brain doesn't reconnect to your body like flipping one giant master switch. It's closer to relighting a long row of streetlights, one segment at a time. When you throw all your effort into moving your entire body simultaneously, you're asking for every streetlight to turn on at once, which is exactly the kind of large, effortful signal that gets lost in the noise. But a small, specific target, one finger, one toe, gives the reconnecting signal a narrow, clear path to follow. Once that one small point moves, it tends to cascade, and fuller movement often follows quickly behind it. Now, staying calm during that moment is obviously easier said than done, especially when your heart is pounding and your mind is racing. But remember what you now know. The racing heart is not a warning that something is actually attacking you. It's your alert brain reading stillness as danger, same as we covered before. Knowing that in advance changes how the moment feels the next time it happens. Curiosity has room to exist where blind fear used to live. Beyond the moment itself, there are two patterns worth paying attention to, not as strict rules, but as observations about your own nights. A consistent sleep schedule is linked to fewer episodes, likely because irregular sleep tends to push REM periods into messier, less predictable timing. And sleeping flat on your back is linked to more frequent episodes, possibly tied to lighter, more interrupted sleep in that position. You don't need to overhaul your entire nightly routine, just notice. Over the next week or two, pay attention to whether an episode tends to follow a short night, a late night, or a night spent flat on your back. You're not tracking this to panic over patterns. You're tracking it the way you'd notice that your ankle only aches after a long hike. Information, not alarm. Which brings us back to the moment that started all of this. Lying there, fully aware, frozen, convinced your own body had turned against you. It hadn't. Your brain wasn't attacking you, and your body wasn't betraying you. One protective system, the same one that keeps you from acting out dreams every single night without you ever noticing, simply finished its job a little later than usual. That's the entire mystery. Not a haunting, not a malfunction. Just two internal clocks, brain and body, occasionally landing a few seconds out of step. Moldaudry, so the next time you wake up and your body hasn't caught up yet, you already know what's happening before your heart even finishes its first hard pound. Your brain hit wake before it hit unlock. And now you know exactly which finger to move first.